Okay, so for the wrist MR, we're going to start with localizers. These, of course, will be random wherever the patient's wrist happens to be sitting. We, of course, tried to get her as isocenter as possible in all the directions. But the key with any extremity is relocalizing until you have really well prescribed planes to prescribe your actual scans off of. So here we can see a fantastic spotted image. It's a rare animal. And then here we see some blurry blobs. So we're going to make our most out of blurry blobs and say, what the heck is that? Let's just prescribe some real slices over it. So we'll bring over some additional localizers. And truly having no clue what that is, we're just going to put an image right through it and see what we get. Lo and behold, we have something that looks like a coronal. Bring this down, we'll perpendicular off of that, and do something that looks like a sagittal. By the time we're ready to scan, we'll have probably had about 5 or 6 localizers. So here we have a scan that's reminiscent of a sagittal, one that's reminiscent of a coronal. So now we'll scan some axials off of these. No, I'm going perpendicular to the wrist off of the coronal and the sagittal plane. But let's get it so we can actually see some anatomy. So let's shrink our field of view down. Add a handful of slices. Good. And we'll add an average just because we took away a fair amount of signal. We want to be able to see it. But they're localizers, so we're not that crazy concerned about signal. We just want to see the anatomy right now. So when this axial localizer comes up, we'll prescribe a very good coronal localizer, a very good sagittal localizer, and that way we have 3 true plane localizers to position our scans off of. Okay, so for the coronal localizer, we typically look when we're around the carpal tunnel, where we can see the hook of the hamate and the greater multangular bone. So I just dragged that one scan down, clicking on my axial image and going perpendicular off of that, angling. And note here, your second localizer, we have the ability to rotate that. So now the image comes up appropriately for you. So here we have a coronal localizer. We'll drag this group down one last time. Go perpendicular to the coronal. We don't need all these slices because we really just want one localizer for our second localizer field of view later. And run that. So now we'll have a coronal, an axial, and a sagittal. So now we can prescribe our first coronal series. So for a small body part like this, I like to look at it on package mode. Perpendicular onto our axial image. And again, we're going to angle where we see the carpal tunnel, where we are parallel with the hamate, as well as the triquetrum. Excuse me, trapezium. Alright, and for coverage, we cover from the dorsum of the wrist to the volar or palmar aspect of the wrist. Okay, and we're going to rotate our field of view. And then these sap bands are for flow. So we're going to click on one sap band on our coronal image and hit perpendicular on our coronal image. Position it superior to our slice. And then we're going to click on the second sap band while we're on the coronal image and hit perpendicular and position that below our slice. So since we don't have a dedicated wrist coil, we really can't use an ideal field of view size, which would be about an 8 centimeter field of view. Instead, we're using about a 10 centimeter or 100 millimeter field of view. Typically speaking, the field of view you would ideally just want to cover from the proximal metacarpals to just past the distal radial ulnar joint. Here we have well above, well below, but that's because we need the signal from the larger field of view, because we don't have a higher end coil, compounded with us being on a 1.5T scanner. Okay, the scan is going to last for about 5 minutes.